Today on With the First Pick, it's that time of year, Rick. We're talking just good football players pre-All-Star Game edition. Get to know these names because we're going to be hearing a lot about them over the next 3 months or so. With the College National Championship and the NFL Divisional Round just days away, we're going to fire up the old overreactions machine. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 213.
Wow.
Rick, before we get going, how many days until the 2025 NFL Draft?
It's ticking, Ryan Wilson. There are only 98 days left until the two. Can we take the zero out, or is that part of the clock? There's 98 days left until the 2025 NFL Draft, or 098 and counting down.
098. That's right. We're under 100, and longtime listeners of the show might remember. And producer Claire's with us today. We had an actual tote board, Claire, back in the day where I would change the numbers by hand, like I was working at a telethon in the 70s. And so I wanted to keep this same aesthetic. And of course, you know, Rick's got something to say about that. So I'll take the next 8 hours and fashion up a new graphic for you, Rick. God forbid you have to say 098.
Well, why wouldn't I be a smart arse on this show?
So 98 days to go. We're always happy to have Rick here because he's working on things with the Jets right now to help them get the GM and the head coach search. And soon he'll be back nonstop with us. 2 days a week now. We're going to be 3 days a week soon. By the way, Rick, a couple quick housekeeping notes before we get going here. Speaking of the next 98 days, got the old with the first pick RV out of the shop. Got to hit the road next week. Going to the Shrine Bowl and then the Senior Bowl. Rick will not be at the Shrine Bowl as of yet. There's not enough room in the RV. I got everything packed up there on my draft reports, but he'll be at the Senior Bowl. Either way, if you see us, say hi. And give Rick a hug. He likes hugs. So we'll do that.
Claire, am I a hugger? Did I not give you a hug in the office?
I think you did. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
Oh, Claire, you met Rick in person? What'd you think?
Yeah. It was very lovely. He was looking for Debo. Debo was hiding.
Oh, I see. Fair enough. Yeah. He and Debo got a beef. I think that's what the kids say. One other housekeeping note, Rick, because you've been so busy here. We haven't gotten around to talking about the 5-star review prospects that people have submitted over the last few weeks and even going back to the fall. We'll get to those in due time, hopefully the next couple of weeks once Rick's schedule slows down a little bit. But we haven't forgotten. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your support. I just don't want you to think that, you know, we made a promise to you and didn't keep it, because if nothing else, Rick, we're promise keepers.
Thank you. I was fogged out, so I don't know what the heck you just said, but can we get going on with the show? I want to get into these just good football players.
All right.
This is the part I love the most, and I also love the over Rick actions. And like you say, I have no idea what's coming my way. Did you and Claire stir these over Rick action questions up today?
Yeah, we sure did.
Did you?
She knows what's coming down the pipe here. So let's get to the over Rick actions. Some headlines, football related from the last week or so. Rick doesn't know what they are. He'll find out in real time. So we're storming into his GM office and saying, Rick, you got to fix this. First up, we actually talked about this on Tuesday's podcast, but it's official now. Quinn Ewers has declared for the draft. Feels like to me, if you're going to be guaranteed $4 or $5 or $6 million NIL wise to transfer, I would take that money, because the money as a third or fourth round pick will not be guaranteed nor quite as lucrative. But he's coming out, and to me, the third or fourth round feels like where he is right now. That could change. What do you think about Quinn Ewers' decision?
Yeah, no, that $6 million figure, if that was reported accurately, that's top of the second round money, and that's guaranteed. So if he does get in the first round, he bet on himself and his draft status this year. You know, we've talked about him as a player, you know, probably a little bit better athlete. I think the two things that really bother people right now are when he gets noisy in the pocket, can he keep his composure? Because when he does have a clean pocket, he can spin the ball wherever he needs to spin it. And also durability. He's never stayed healthy in a single season. And what makes you think that if he had to be a 17-game starter, or if he is a 17-game starter, what makes you think he's going to be healthy? So by going back, taking the $6 million, showing they can stay healthy through a full college season and improving his draft stock, I would have thought he was going to lean that way. But he made the business decision to come out, and now we get to start evaluating through this pre-draft process of where he'll actually end up in April.
Yeah, we watch him a
lot.
Do you think
he's going to? Do you think, Brian Wilson, that he will move up in this pre-draft process, or you think he is where he is, in your opinion?
Right now, where he is middle to late day 2 for me. I don't think that changes.
Okay.
Because what do you always say? If you have a history of being injured, you
You're going to
typically
be
stay
injured.
injured. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the big concern.
And just a little bit of tidbits as I've been out, was it scantagalloping about the country?
Gallivanting.
Yeah, whatever the term is.
Scantagalloping. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a new one, Claire.
There is more and more love on Mr. Dart down at Ole Miss.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. So we talked about Jackson Dart on Tuesday's show when we talked about our quarterback rankings now compared to the fall. And a lot of folks were up in your mentions, Rick, saying that we're not giving Jackson Dart enough love. So that's great to hear. That'll make people happy around the league that people are perhaps higher on Jackson Dart than we initially thought. And that's one more thing for us to talk about over the next 98 days.
Yeah, and I think the reason is everybody's done the film, but what I'm hearing is because of the toughness and,
Yeah.
that game he played with through the sprained ankle. I can't remember what game it was.
That was Georgia. He came in and got hurt and came back, had to go to the bench for a second.
But I guess and people are going to learn this through the pre-draft process, the intangibles are going to be off the charts.
Love to hear it. And that was the easy comp for me is Matt Corral because he wears number 2, played at Ole Miss. I think he's better than Matt Corral.
That's
a fantastic.
Than Corral.
I've been told by every GM that's the best comp they've ever heard. But my point is this, that the intangibles for Matt Corral weren't quite where it sounds like Jackson Dart's are. So that's great news. Good. Looking forward to talking to Jackson as we get through this process. He'll be at the Senior Bowl. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to talk to him there. And then, of course, at the old Combine.
Okay. And I'm just going to give intangible what I heard on the street.
Oh, yeah. What'd you hear?
A J.J. McCarthy-like intangible.
I fell in love with J.J. when I met him. I'll give you that. I didn't love his tape. I loved him on third down, third and long.
Yeah, that's the only stat you came up that was worth noting the whole time. We did the evaluations last year.
2+ years. Should be noted if it's not obvious. Rick's a little grumpy. He has a side job, and they wear him out there. Then he takes that out on me and Claire. That's okay, Rick. That's what we're here for. We're your punching.
Not Claire. I love Claire.
Just me.
Yeah,
just me.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm fine with that. I've been married for 20+ years. I got 2 kids. This is nothing for me. Next up, and I had to dig this out. I think Claire's familiar with this next little prop that I have here. I wanted to ask you about this before, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. But this is one of those things that makes me want to punch myself in the face. Steelers lost in the first round of the playoffs. That wasn't a surprise. Lamar Jackson special, Derrick Henry special. That defense is playing great for Baltimore. That wasn't the surprising part. The surprising part, or the perhaps predictably annoying part, was that people said that the Steelers should trade Mike Tomlin because he can't help them win a playoff game. Haven't won one since 2016. Here it is, Rick, just so you know. Breaking out the old dumb bucket for this one.
We haven't seen a dumb bucket in a while.
I know.
We should have put the Dart comparison with Corral in the dumb bucket. That was more than qualified to go in that dumb bucket.
Not too late.
There you go.
In the dumb bucket it goes. And while we're at it, I'll put the Jay Cutler, Cam Ward comp in there too. Because you hated that one. But here's the thing, and this is what I have to tell people when they ask me about should the Steelers trade Mike Tomlin. I'm going to give you a number, Rick, and you tell me if it'll be longer or shorter if Mike Tomlin were unemployed. 2 minutes before he was hired. Under, exactly. Number one. Number two, I think he's a victim of his own success because he's so good at making chicken salad out of chicken doo-doo and winning more games than he loses every year that they're never in a position to take a quarterback. Like if they went 5-12 or whatever, okay, they'd have a top 10 pick and they could take a Michael Penix Jr. or whatever, but they're always picking in the 20s. So he has to sort of make do with what he has quarterback-wise after Big Ben retired. And by the way, Big Ben hurt his elbow in 2019, and he wasn't the same after that either. So basically, since 2019, they haven't had a quarterback, and they either win as many or more games than they play. So what are your thoughts on the idea of and Mike Tomlin has since said it ain't going to happen, but even the notion that anybody would consider trading Mike Tomlin?
No, who's Pittsburgh going to replace him with?
Thank you.
The one thing that I would say, and I'm trying not to be biased because I'm very close with Mike Tomlin. We worked together in Minnesota for a year before he took the Pittsburgh job. And I've been friends with him for a long time, and I think he does an incredible job, a leader of men. Disappointment is, I think the fans are probably more disappointed because what they do, lose 5 down the stretch here. They were 10-3
against all playoff teams except the Bengals, who very well could have been.
Yeah, so I think that's where the disappointment is. And everybody was saying, and you included, I think, that he's never had a quarterback like Russ Wilson, and Russell Wilson was rolling a little bit, and the moon balls, and our colleague Petey, who has to learn the game when he has no idea about what the game is about. But the thing that I go back and look at now that you can reflect and play armchair quarterback, I put my arms on my chair and quarterback this.
Well done.
See that? Is that Justin Fields was 4-2, and I don't know what was promised or not promised, but do you think they would have had more success with Justin Fields or with Russell Wilson?
If you could make them into one person, that'd have been awesome. But the issue with Justin is that he struggles to throw the ball down the field and struggles to throw on time.
But when the games get messy, weather-wise, down the stretch, do you think that Justin Fields would have gained better opportunity to maybe make some more plays, especially with his ability and his mobility?
Yeah, absolutely. But the issue, especially over the last month of the season, George Pickens was hurt. And once George Pickens goes out, you have 0 wide receivers. The running game was suspect the entire year. I thought Arthur Smith did pretty good with what he had. And the defense didn't show up the final month of the season either. So, I mean, look, it's a half dozen to one compared to when you're comparing Russ and Justin Fields. And Russ's issue is this. If the first read isn't there, he's going to look to bounce it and then either take a sack or throw it away. And that's not sustainable either. But that's what made George Pickens so dangerous. He could just throw the ball up and he'll go get it. So they got to figure out the quarterback situation. I think I said to you the other day, maybe on Tuesday's podcast.
Did you hear George Pickens post press conference?
No, what did he say?
Oh my God. What did he say? Something like, do you think the offense is going in the right direction or make progress? He says, I know we made progress. And they asked him, are you excited about the future? And he said, no. And then just walked away.
All right, he's being honest. I asked you this in a previous overreactions a couple of months ago. What are you going to do with George Pickens? I would seriously consider trading him, and maybe even trading him.
I'm Omar, and I'm the GM in Pittsburgh. I call Ryan Wilson, GM of With the First Pick podcast. Hey, I got this very talented receiver. Do you want him? What would you do?
Yeah, what? How's my team though? Like, what do I need him?
Oh my God, this is the dead fish flopping on a shore thing.
Yes, I want George Pickens. If I have a quarterback that can throw the ball, yeah, I want him.
Huh?
He's a special player. He's a top 5 wide receiver if he has his head on straight.
Yeah, is the squeeze worth the juice? I guess is that what the saying is?
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Well, the concern is this. If Mike Tomlin can't get him under control, because Mike Tomlin has done that historically with a lot of wide receivers that have gone elsewhere and struggled, that would be a huge red flag for me. Because a head coach who doesn't command the room like Mike Tomlin doesn't have a chance. You know what I'm saying?
No, I've never been in any situations like where.
Let me explain to you how it works, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
But here's what I would do. I would rather be Omar in the situation, because I would say I will give you George Pickens, and man, I might even give you my first round pick at 21. So George Pickens in 21, if Shador Sanders is there at 10 or 11 or something, and all these teams passing this quarterback, is that enough or not enough?
Well, why are you going to give me a pick in 21? It's not viable.
Pickens and 21. I want to get rid of Pickens, and I'll give you the 21st overall pick to move up to 10 or 11 if a quarterback's there that I like.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on who. Depends on where our team is.
There you go. You sound like the smartest guy in the room right now.
Never be the smartest guy in the room. Someone told me that, so I always try to make sure I'm not.
I think we're both safe.
Claire is the smartest person in the room.
We're safe. Unless we're in the room with Pete, you and I are safe. All right. So we're not trading Mike Tomlin. That's the dumb bucket Hall of Fame one right there.
Yeah, put that one in the dumb bucket.
What about this one? I thought this was interesting, and in the moment, I didn't care. It happened during the game this weekend, one of the games. This player didn't actually have a big game, and people made a big deal about it. But A.J. Brown was caught reading on the sidelines a motivational book. And my thought was, and this is one of the things I've been sort of leaning into, you know what? You don't have to have an opinion on everything. I have no opinion of A.J. Brown trying to better himself during the game. He said he's done it before. The book has now become incredibly popular for people who like to, self-motivate and want to achieve greatness, so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on A.J. Brown reading a book on the sidelines during the game?
Yeah, that was a little bizarro to me. I mean, I've thought I've seen everything. I haven't seen that one yet. I can understand the perception of a guy. You're in the heat of a battle, and the guy's, I know, maybe he was reading the Hallmark book. I don't know what he was reading, but they, identified the book as a self-help book. Probably not the right form. A lot of guys will write cheat notes or things like that, just to remind himself of things that are going on. But, the book thing, it looked awkward, but maybe like most things that happen is that we make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah, the book's by Jim Murphy, former minor league baseball player. It's called Inner Excellence. And it was sort of a niche book among some golfers and some hockey players. And obviously, A.J. Brown got his hands on it. Look, man, if he needs to read a couple paragraphs during the game to get his mind right, and he ain't supposed to be on the field, I don't care. It is not something you see every day, though. Is it better than eating a hot dog? Because that really got you fired up.
Yes, that irritates me. I'd rather be in a self-motivational book than eating a hot dog on a sideline while your brothers are out there bleeding and breaking bones and trying to win a game, and you're over there eating hot dogs doing interviews with the media.
Oh, boy. Never mind if it was the Pro Bowl, but whatever. All right.
It's the same thing. No, not the Pro Bowl. Was an actual bowl game.
It was a bowl game. Do we name the guy or not? Can we at least give him the
it was a tight end from Notre Dame, Meyer.
Jeez. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and I got one more overreactions for you, but let's take a quick break. Let me regroup, and we'll talk about that right after this.
Stay tuned at halftime of the AFC Divisional Playoff game for a sneak peek of 1923 Season 2, streaming February 23rd, exclusively on Paramount+.
Are you a 1923 Paramount Plus watcher?
No, I watched The Agency through Paramount Plus, which was very good. I watched Season 2 of The Lioness, which was outstanding.
Your favorite show, right?
My favorite of all time shows. And then, although this one looks like it's going to be a rival, I got through the second show on Landman.
Oh, is that good? I love Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes, outstanding. I would highly recommend any of those shows.
Nice. Paramount Plus, home with the first pick. Well done. That's how you do your sales job there, Rick. All right, one more overreactions, then we'll get to these just good football players pre-All-Star Game edition. All right, Rick. These are some real-life issues you've had to deal with. Week 18, disaster. Week 19, first round of the playoffs, sacked 9 times. What are we doing with Sam Darnold?
Oh, boy. He's going to get paid still. But I think...
Here, let me ask you this first before I let you answer. I ask you a question and then interrupt you. I apologize. Let's say you're not the Vikings. But
you never apologize. See, I interrupted you. So we're even.
Let's say you're not the Vikings, but you're another team. I imagine you are, but I want to make sure. Are you having the conversation that, look, our team isn't as good as X, Y, and Z in terms of what Kevin O'Connell could provide for Sam Darnold? Do we understand our weaknesses before we go out and spend $45 million on him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are very significant conversations as you get ready through free agency. I still think, and let me ask you this, and I don't know, I didn't see the franchise numbers yet, but would you franchise them because you have the cap room to do it for a year? Have him play another year. JJ's really entering his rookie year next year because he hasn't practiced all year because he's been on IR, and then see where it goes after 1 year.
The quarterback tag number should be around $39.6 million this year. I would tag him because here's the thing. It's 1 year, and we've seen teams like the Falcons, teams like the Browns pay these quarterbacks long-term, and they're either are not working out or don't look like they will work out. And they're still on the roster for more than 1 year, or still in the books for more than 1 year at least. So, yeah, I'm fine tagging him for $39 million if you have that. You start with him, and then if he has to be a backup for half the year, making the balance of that, he's making the balance of it.
Yeah, no, I think I would try it if I can afford it without making a 3-year commitment and $100 million or whatever it's going to be. maybe just say, if we can do it, franchise him for a year and let's see how it evolves through next season.
What if his agent said he begs you not to franchise him? Does that have any impact on what you do?
Yeah, then I would tell him to go call the union, go call the NFL league office and the management council, and make sure that the team does not have that tool to use. But we have the tool to use. It's collectively bargained. I'm going to use it. What do you want me to do?
You will actually say something to that effect?
Huh?
You'll actually say something to that effect?
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to do? It's a tool. It's been in place. Why wouldn't I use it?
He's begging you not to do it. Okay, I'm just checking. Good Lord.
Jesus.
Claire, say a little prayer for Rick. All right, that's it for Overreaction.
Wake up. Say a little prayer for me.
You did pretty good on that one. Only one dumb bucket submission, Hall of Fame dumb bucket submission, but I had to ask about the Mike Tomlin trade nonsense. All right, let's talk about some just good football players. And I'm going to mention a couple names at the end, but we're going to start off with some of Rick's dudes because, not surprisingly, Rick hasn't had a chance to watch every single player because he's been busy helping the Jets. So we're going to focus on Ohio State, the national title game, and then Alabama, who Rick obviously he's worked closely with those kids for several years now. Let's start with Alabama, Rick. And this young man made my latest mock draft, which came out 2 weeks ago, I think. I had him going like 11th or 12th to the Cowboys. He's still 20 years old, off-ball linebacker. You can line him up on the edge. Jihad Campbell, who is a freakish athlete. I think I like him a little bit more than Jalen Walker, the Georgia young man who can play edge or off-ball as well. First, let me ask you this. How do you like the idea of him going to a team like the Cowboys where they may need some help on the interior there?
Yeah, I think that he is a multi-position player. Now, you're always going to take the best player on your board, but if you're going to pay Micah Parsons, a gazillion dollars, I don't know if you want to put that much money into two linebackers with the, wherever you have Dallas picking. So I would say this kid came out of the woodwork. No one really talked about him last year. When you see him walk in a room, he is a physical specimen. He's long, he's 6'4", lean, wiry built, athletically and speed. I think he's going to go test very well through this pre-draft process. I think he improved this year from the tapes that I saw last year, taking on blocks, although you still like him to get off a little quicker, but at least he's starting to use his hands to get off the blocks. Very good in coverage. And I think where he was underutilized, but when you did see him used as an edge rusher, this guy can come off the edge. So I think this guy, you can do a lot of things with this guy. Reminded me a little bit of an Anthony Barr type who we drafted with that athleticism.
Is he that big?
Yes. Yeah. Wow. He may be an inch shorter, but he looks like that.
Okay.
So I could see a defensive coordinator falling in love with him because of nowadays when you have to have these unique athletes to match up with, especially with these tight ends that are unique athletes and trying to create mismatches. I think talent-wise, and he still has a ways to go. I'm not crowning him king yet to go in the Hall of Fame, but there's a lot of tools to work with, and I think he's going to have a major impact down the road for some team if they're able to draft him.
Yeah, he's fun, and it was a fun watch because he announced the same day that Jalen Milroe did a week or so ago, and once I watched him, I was like, "Oh, sweet mercy alive!"
Oh, sweet mercy alive! Rick actually knows sometimes.
Rick got that one right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, and this is a guy that's been under the radar, and you brought him to my attention, and I had not heard anyone talk about him prior to that. Number 34, Quandarius Robinson, goes by Q. He was fun too. I watched him this morning, and he's a redshirt senior. Missed the last month of the season with an elbow injury. But I thought, and you said watch him as a pass rusher. I loved him as a pass rusher. I thought he did okay against the run too. He works hard. He's a hair on fire guy, and I thought he did a good job getting off blocks. And I watched him against LSU because they have some dudes. I watched him against Missouri because that right tackle is a dude as well, Mbu. And he more than held his own. I don't like him as much as Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell's a little younger. But this guy feels like if you told me late day 2, early day 3, is that too rich for a designated pass rusher early on?
I think because of the injury, because of basically he's been waiting his turn because they've had some dudes coming off the edge over the last couple of years down at Alabama. And he's a local kid. He's from Birmingham. He's going to ace every intangible part. Great character, high character kid. Probably if he would have transferred, would have probably been talking about him like maybe we were talking about the Marshall kid, Mike Green.
Yep.
But he stayed there, waited his turn. And then I'm sitting here watching this kid, and I'm like, I had to go back and check, who is this 34? And I think he's long, he's athletic. He's probably kind of a DPR guy right now. I do think he needs to get stronger at the point versus the run, although he will battle his rear end off. But I think he's going to be underdrafted and probably go sometime in Saturday. Now let's see how the pre-draft process goes. I talked to a couple people early in October when I was down there, and they thought he was a priority free agent. I think this dude's too good to pass up. I think he's a Saturday guy and maybe one of those guys that does get underdrafted. And he was the category for me of just good football player that no one knows about.
He's listed at 241. Is that he plays a lot stronger than that?
Yeah, that's his issue. He needs to add some bulk and some strength. But he's long, but he's real wiry right now. But I think Mike Green looks wiry, at least what we watched on tape.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Q is that if he's 241 or whatever he is, he's long arm tackles and walking them into the quarterback's lap. I mean, he's strong.
Yes, he plays because of that leverage that he has, and he knows how to use that leverage.
You want to hear my comp, or should we just move on?
No, get the dumb bucket out.
You ready?
Go ahead. Put the paper in and then tell your comp. Put the paper in first.
I'm not gonna,
save some time.
Arden Key.
Oh, God.
Should the paper go in?
Yeah, go in.
All right, fair enough. Claire loves it. Okay, fair enough. He's fun, though. All right. Another guy that I feels like a day 3 guy, but you tell me. Played in the secondary for Alabama. Half the time he's playing free safety, but he would come close to the line of scrimmage, little box, a little slot. Malachi Moore. And when you talked about him, when I talked to you the other day, I said, well, how is he above the shoulders? Because that play against Vanderbilt is what everyone's been talking about since it happened 3 months ago or whatever. So tell me about Malachi. Yeah,
that's not him. Very high character kid. Maybe the smartest guy on the defensive side of the ball. Not as big, or I think the biggest thing that people want to see is what he runs in a 40. So he's going to be a dash for cash guy. Because I think
that's a good one. That's new. Where'd you get that?
Yeah, I come up with stuff. Hey, Claire, did you like that? It just came in this hitting my noggin there. Dash for cash. Claire laughs at my jokes. You don't.
Yeah, she has to.
Yeah, she's my self-esteem coach. Thanks, Claire.
You know the sad part is you're my self-esteem coach. All right, so Malachi's super smart. Dash for cash.
Yeah, dash for cash. He's a really good football player. He's played multiple positions since he's been down there at Alabama. I'm going to put him. I do think he's a 4th rounder.
Okay.
Some teams have him in the 3rd round. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
But it's going to be what he runs because he can play multiple positions. He is a poor man's Brian Branch. Not as big or as sick, but that type of intelligence.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the same player. We just listen, like you go, ooh. The smarts, the ability to play different positions. Not as talented, but a poor man's Brian Branch is what category I'm going to put him in.
I'm rereading my notes, and I actually liked a lot of what he did on the field. I had him like late 4th, early 5th. If that makes you feel better or worse, I don't know. You want to hear my comp for him?
No. Yeah, I do.
You're so ingrained into just saying no to whatever I ask. This kid was a very smart player as well. Jordan Fuller.
I'll give you a 50-50 on that one.
All right. Then no dumb bucket for me. I'll take it. That's a win. All right. Let's hit these Ohio State kids real quick. And I cannot believe we haven't talked about this young man once. We typically save the running backs till later, but Trevion Henderson is super juiced up. I liked him more than Quinshon Judkins this season. He's more of the Jameer Gibbs.
What's it, the Sonic and Boom and Sonic?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that he's more Jameer and Judkins is more Dave Montgomery.
Yes, I would agree. Yes.
Look at that. You're coming around, Rick. You're getting it.
Oh, finally, I'm starting to learn something.
But I love the way he plays. He's tough. He is twitchy. He can turn the corner, low pad level, yada, yada, yada. What do you think about Trevion? And I think I have to check, but he's a second round pick for me.
Yeah. No one talks about this kid. Everybody wanted to see Junkins because he transferred in from Ole Miss. But Trevion, you go back to his freshman year, I mean, everybody thought this is the next superstar running back. Last 2 years, he has dealt with injuries. When they put him and Junkins in the backfield this year, it was their version of thunder and lightning, whatever you want to call it. He is an explosive playmaker, and his speed, when he gets in the open field, this guy is going to go. I've been, because I've seen every tape on it. Every time he gets the ball in space, you hold your breath because he has an opportunity to take it to the house.
You want to hear a fun fact?
Yes.
His 100-meter time, I don't know if this is high school or since, 10:9.
Yeah.
And that's a humming.
That's a humming. That's a high school time.
Okay.
But it was the durability thing. So I think if you pair him with maybe more of the ground and pounder type guy, because this guy is really good catching the ball out of the backfield, really good runner, and the durability was the biggest concern. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that start rising up draft boards. And he's had a great playoff run too, as well.
Yeah, he's been good for sure there. 92nd percentile of that. I just checked for that among all college players with that 100 times.
I bet him $1. He said he'll run in the 4.3s easy.
10.9 translates to moving. All right, next up, Cody Simon. Guy you turned me on to, number 0, off-ball linebacker. He might have the best instincts of the linebackers I've watched so far, and I've seen all the Shrine Bowl and Senior Bowl kids. I think he's a good athlete. Like sometimes you're like, well, I don't know if he's a good athlete. I think he's a good athlete. He's sideline to sideline. I don't love him necessarily in coverage when he turns his back, but coming downhill, he's good. He's great against the run. They line him up everywhere in terms of when they blitz him, and he gets home and he's looking to take heads off. I like this guy a lot.
He is. I did him the previous year, and I gave him a college free agent grade. And when I sat there, I was like, yeah, this kid may get into camp and may have a chance on special teams. Because he rotated in and out a lot in 2023 season. And then the more I talked to this kid, I was like, God, this guy's going to be a great scout, great front office guy. I'd love to bring this guy in as an intern when he figures out he can't play.
With the first pick intern?
No, he's not that. No.
Wouldn't do that to him?
No, he's way higher than that. But it's like, and then I go back and turn on the tape this year. And when I had an opportunity to sit and talk with him twice this year, I said, I just have to tell you. And I talked to him last year. I said, if you're ever done, let me know if I can help you in any way, because I think you would be great in the front office in the NFL. That's how I'm an example. You don't have to be totally smart to be in the NFL front office.
You told him that?
Yeah. I said, no, but he is, like I said, you're way more qualified than me when I first started. Just how impressed I was with him as a person. And this is a kid that's, I don't want to classify him as an overachiever, but always has the deck stacked against him, yet he answers the bell. And he became, to me, one of the cogs on that, unique, talented defense. I think he's the green dot guy. I love his range, instinctive. I agree with you 100%. I do think he's more an athletic in coverage. And I know for a fact that this guy maybe went from not even a priority free agent to maybe 4th round, potentially 3rd if he runs fast. But these type of linebackers are playing in the league now. Totally different than Campbell, who we talked about in Alabama. But this kid's going to be a core special team player, and he's going to find his way on the field in some kind of packages. Because of his intangibles and his football intelligence, and even his non-football intelligence are totally off the chart. And great kid. And no matter what obstacle you put in this kid's way, he seems to have the ability to overcome it.
I had him top of the fourth after watching him this morning. By the way, Big Ten Conference Distinguished Scholar, 4-time OSU Scholar Athlete, 3-time Academic All Big Ten, and this is coming into this season. He's already graduated with his degree in finance, so he's not a dummy. He's
way more. I probably steered him wrong because he's way smarter than to be a front office guy in the NFL.
And he was currently
whatever he does, this guy is going to be successful, whatever he puts his mind to.
And in the fall, he was currently working on his master's in human development and family services. So he's going to get every degree at Ohio State before he leaves, it sounds like. You want to ruin this moment by telling my comp?
Yeah.
Do you have a comp for him?
No.
He's not as big, or maybe he's 10 pounds heavier, but I got the same sense in terms of the way he plays, hair on fire wise. Henry To'oto'o.
Oh, they came out of there?
Alabama, you know Henry. He's your guy.
Yes. Yeah, not as big, but as instinctive as that. The only reason I'm going to chuckle is because that was one of our first pro days. We went together. You remember I took you through the side door and all the players were in there in a circle, and I'm sitting there yucking it up with them. And you were like kind of like a deer in headlights look. What are we doing? Are we allowed to be in here? What's going on?
Yeah, Claire, Rick's rule is don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. He's going to walk in like he's been there before. And they knew him, but we went in the side door we weren't supposed to go in. And then luckily everyone's like slapping him up because Rick's their boy. And I'm just trying not to get in trouble. Typically how these things work.
That's all because right. as Terry and Darnold said in the combine last year, I tell them they're trash.
And Terrion learned from that. He's going to be back for this game too. He's healthy, so that's good news for the Lions. Yeah, Terrion took it to heart, and as you've noted, some people didn't take it to heart. They took it personally. And
Spencer,
luckily for me, I'm more Terrion than the others. All right, next up, Latham Ransom, another guy who is a lot of fun to watch. Had a big game last week. Who'd they play? I can't remember who they beat. Texas. Huge stop on the play before Jack Sawyer took it to the house on the strip sack to end that game, essentially put it out of reach for Ohio State over Texas. Huge stop on a run to the left. I said he's good, but not great athlete. Plays with good instincts, always in the right place. I thought he had pretty good range from playing from center field. He's a good tackler. Thought sometimes he struggled with angles coming downhill. But again, he feels like one of these core guys that you bring into your roster. You know him, I don't know him, but he seems like he's the type of guy you want to build around. And I had a similar grade on him that I had on Cody Simon, like late second, early third, late day 2, early day 3.
Yeah, he'll probably be a day 3 guy because he'll be another guy that needs the dash for cash.
Yeah, right.
But he has an edge to him now. When you sit there and talk with him, he is all business. There's no yuckity yuck up and up with him. He is a football player. You know who reminded me of? And we took him in the 7th round, and he's still playing up there. Is Josh Metellus a little bit?
Okay.
Again, that's hard hitting, come downhill, core special teams guy. Brian Flores created a role for him as that floater nickel dime type guy in the center of the field and whatever concepts that Brian Flores has. But better football player than athlete, and don't forget to judge the football player, not always the athlete.
Yeah, so I wrote he's all in as a run stopper, but sometimes is limited by his physical abilities. And then I said if he was a top-end athlete, he'd be a first-round pick in terms of just his mentality and his approach to playing football.
Yeah, he is. Now he is edge. The definition of edge is not edge as an edge player, but edge to his mentality. That's him.
Razor's edge.
Well, I don't know what's a razor's edge.
Latham Ransom. You know what I think? I'm glad you told me that he's not one to be chucking it up, because he's from Tucson, where I used to live back in the day, and I noticed that his mom's name is Linda, and I think his dad's name's Nathan. So I think his name is a mixture of the two, Lathan. But I'm not asking him that now.
Please ask him that if we see him. I would love to see.
Nathan, quick question. Your mom's Linda, your dad's Nathan. Is your name Lathan a combination of those two?
I'm going to ask you. You've gotten better. We're at these pro days, and will you please not embarrass me with some of the stuff that we say to these kids?
All right, I'm making a note. That'll be the first question I ask him. All right. Yeah, he's fun. Okay, let's take a quick break. And before we get out of here, Rick, I'm going to hit you with 3 names of guys that I'm going to be watching, non-Alabama, Ohio State edition, that are going to be at these bowl games too. So just to give you something to do in your spare time when you're not working for the Jets or watching Paramount Plus. And we'll talk about those guys right after this.
I feel home when I see the faces that remember my own. When I'm with my friends, I feel home.
All right, Rick. These are some names. Scribble them down because they're going to be guys we're going to be talking a lot about in the next 98 days. I'm going to start in Missouri with the right tackle, Armand Membu, number 79. He's going to the Senior Bowl. So I watched him last week. He is my offensive tackle too.
Wow. You like him that much?
Oh my gosh. I'm watching him against Texas A&M, who has a bunch of dudes. I'm watching him against South Carolina, who we've talked a lot about the dudes they have. Flawless against both pass protection and in the run. Oh my goodness. He moves incredibly well. He's thick. He's 6'3", 315, but he looks thicker than that in the lower half. And he was as consistent comes. Sometimes you watch guys and like the Josh Connollys, for example, incredible athlete, but sometimes he plays too high pad level, gets over his toes. I love this guy. If you told me he went top 12, I would be absolutely okay with that. Now he's right tackle only. He's only played right tackle. Does that bother you in terms of taking him top 12 or whatever?
He's not a top 12 pick. So I'm going to just start right there. I an opportunity I got to go back and do more tape on him.
Okay.
I did watch him play live when Missouri came to Alabama.
He did pretty good against number 34.
He's a dumpy looking body. He looks more like a guard than a right tackle. So I think he's going to project inside a guard.
Come on. He is 6'3". That bothers you?
Yeah. There's not how many 6'3" offensive tackles are playing in this league?
I don't know.
None.
Is it 0?
I don't know. But I bet you it's he would have to be an exception to the rule. If you're going to build
I know that. I get it historically.
Yeah.
Okay.
But demeanor wise, his demeanor, I mean, I loved at least in my live look, the grit and finish. He does have some technical issues, but he can bend. I think he's a better athlete than Darnell Wright. But Darnell Wright was much bigger, but kind of plays with that mentality.
Darnell went 10th, I believe.
Yeah, to Chicago.
Yep.
But I don't know with the lack of length, that he's probably going to have to project inside the guard. And I imagine we'll see him get an opportunity to play there. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people try to work him at center, just like
Zion Johnson.
No, Barton last year.
Oh, Barton. Yeah, Graham Barton, even sooner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think we're overthinking it sometimes. I think Fautanu, I think it was Fautanu who's only 6'3". He didn't play last year because he was hurt, so we don't know whether that's going to work or not. But all right.
He's not the athlete. He's not the athlete that Fautanu was.
No, he wasn't. In fact, I put him as if Tully Fuaga weighed 20 pounds less, I felt more like that sort of athleticism.
Yeah.
Then
pull back the reins a little bit, bud. You're going off track here real quick.
All right, let's get it back on the tracks. I don't want to have to pull the dumb bucket back out.
Oh my God. I wish I had time because but go ahead, go with your just good football players.
He is just a good.
He's a good football player. I'm giving you that. But to throw him up there as a top 12 pick, you're not
too rich for you, huh?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna stick a pin in this. We'll revisit it in 5 years and see if I'm right.
I don't care. You're just talking about top 12. I think he's going to be a good player. I'm not saying that, but I don't think
too rich at 12. Okay, all right. That's why we got 98 days to figure it out. We're not drafting tomorrow.
Are we dollar bet that he's top 12?
No, not yet.
Okay, there, tough guy.
I'd like to see the Senior Bowl.
I found me one. No one's talking about this guy. Bullshit. Sorry.
Now Claire has to go beat that out. All right. Next up, let's see if we can get you the curse about this young man. He's at the Naval Academy. We'll see how you feel about Annapolis. Rayan Lane III plays safety. This dude, he's fun, number one. He's a really good safety. But he ran 10.99 in high school in the 100. Had 3 interceptions, 1 dropped interception, 8 PBUs this year. Athletic, fast, plays much bigger than his size. Hard-hitting. Safety usually plays in 2 high look. He can play in the man in the slot. Consistently comes downhill on the middle field routes. great ball skills, and he'll come up and hit you in the mouth. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Navy this year, but I think this guy, if he has a good Senior Bowl and good pre-draft process, if you told me he went top 100, sign me up for that because he's a good player. He's obviously a smart kid. You have a chance to see Lane the third yet?
No, this one I can't comment on. So I look forward to watching him, and I really
he'll be the Senior Bowl, so we can watch him there.
Okay, I really do trust your judgment.
Some advice for you, Rick: bring your binoculars to the Senior Bowl. Don't forget.
Oh boy!
And lastly, before we get out of here, I don't know if we talked about him in the fall, but he had a field day basically every week, but it started with the Penn State game. Was the first time he got on my radar. Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green. Now,
I'm anxious to see this kid. I've saw some buzz on him, and I saw one game when I was watching the other team, and then I was like, this guy does pop out. He did pop out to me a little bit on the tape athletically as a receiving tight end. But go ahead. I don't want to take your thunder.
That's okay. 6'3", 231. So obviously you don't think he's playing in line all day long.
No. But
he lined up in line 44% of the time, mostly in the slot otherwise, and they would line him up out wide. How many times do you think they targeted him this year?
I have no idea.
151 times. He was a Tyler Warren of Bowling Green football. He went for 137 yards against Penn State, went for 145 against Texas A&M. So he's going up against dudes now. These are two really good defenses. He's not just going up against, the mother of the blind or whatever. Holds what every Bowling Green and MAC offensive record. No surprise there. It's funny, like when he runs, it's like his knees don't work, but he's outrunning everyone down the field. Like he has a weird gait, but he gets open consistently. He's incredibly tough with the ball in his hands. He's running through arm tackles. He's a yak guy. He runs routes I thought he's a pretty good route runner. And I'm interested to see how this works out as well, because this is a Juwan Johnson situation, or is this a situation where, like, how are you going to use him at the next level?
Well, I haven't seen enough to really give an intelligent evaluation on him, but the way you've described him and just some of the glimpses I've seen, does he remind you of the kid that came out of Maryland? I don't want to butcher his name. I think in
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think he's better. Maybe not as good as an athlete. He may not run a 4.3. I don't know, but I think he's better.
Okay. That's when you were describing him, that's the guy, the name that popped up to me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if who knows if Chick's being utilized properly in Tennessee, because they got some other issues to concern themselves with. But coming out, he was a fun player, and sort of like the kid at Florida State last year who transferred to South Carolina, who never really materialized, but had similar hopes for.
Yeah.
He was at the Senior Bowl as well. But I want to see Harold at the Senior Bowl, see how he matches up in those 1-on-1s and the 7-on-7s, because what I have him at? I had him as a day 2 possibility.
Ooh.
Could you play him in the slot? Let's say he runs a 4.55. You could play him in the slot, right?
Yeah, but I'm sure with a guy that size, you're going to use him potentially some fullback, some H-back, just try to create.
And he can block a little bit too in line. He's willing. Now, he's not as strong as Rob Gronkowski, but he'll get after as a blocker, trying to block down on the Ds and the linebackers, getting to the next level. All right. That's some homework for you, Rick, when you get a spare moment. Then you got about 200 other guys to get through for this Friday Senior Bowl. But that's all right. We got time. We got 98 days.
098 days left.
098 days.
Yes.
And we'll figure out next week. We'll get Rick's schedule, and then I'll be leaving Thursday to go down to Dallas. So we'll figure that out. But we'll have a couple podcasts next week, and then we'll probably have some extra podcasts from Shrine, and then some extra podcasts from the Senior Bowl when Rick and I get together there. And we'll take it from there. How's that sound?
Look forward to it.
All right. It's going to be exciting, Claire. All right. That's it. That's a wrap on episode 213. Thanks, as always, to my guy, Rick. Thanks to Claire for producing. Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen and comment. See you next week.